Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Scorpion Cigar Reviews. Today I will be reviewing the Aging Room M356. This is a Robusto sized cigar. I have smoked one of these a while back, quite some time ago, well over a year ago, probably closer to 2 years. And I tell you, I fell in love with the silkiness of the wrapper. Now, this doesn't seem to be so silky like the other one was. But anyway, it's got quite a bit of veining, but doesn't seem to be a big issue. It has maybe a triple cap on there, it looks like. Now, once again, I'm outside and I've got a fire going, so I'm not really getting a whole lot on the nose. Basic tobacco type scents. Maybe a hint of leather in there and some kitchen spices. Leather and kitchen spices on the foot. Okay. I'm not going to go into a lot of depth trying to pick everything out because it's just all, you know, being skewed by the elements here. So using my punch cutter today. Now, one of the things that I really like about punch cutters is that if you have ever experienced, after clipping a cigar and the cap kind of just falls off sometimes after that, you're going to have less of a chance of that happening with a punch. There are downsides to a punch as well. I'm not going to go into all that right now. Draws a little tight. A lot of kitchen spices in there. Some leather. Real pleasant pre-draw. Alright, get this toasted up. And this is the second lighter that has failed on me. I lit the fire and then the lighter fails. Seems to be trying to go now. Alright, so we'll get toasted up. Lighter number 3 did the trick. Blast of pepper. Very strong pepper on the retrohale. The draw is still quite snug. I'll give it a little while, see if it loosens up for me or not. And if it does not, then I'll run in and grab another cutter. Some other underlying flavors, maybe like a jalapeno type spiciness, something along those lines. A little bit of maybe a glue note. Okay, well, we'll get somewhere in the first third and I'll be back. I'll be pairing today's cigar with Inver House Green Plaid, very rare Scotch whiskey. This is a blend, it says on the label, a blend of superbly light 100% rare Scotch whiskies distilled and blended in Scotland, 40% alcohol by volume. Pour a little dram here. Now, being a blend and bottled at 40%, I'll not be adding any water to it unless I pick out some heavy malt notes, which would indicate that it would benefit from the addition of some water. I will not be adding water. It already smells watered down. It's very thin. There's really no, almost zero alcohol on the nose. Definitely watered down. Maybe some melon notes. Maybe even a bit of grape note in there. A few other berries. It tastes much better than it noses. Although I can still taste that it's been watered down. I am picking up a little bit of a malt note. Yeah, this has been overwatered. Well, we'll let that sit for a while, see if it'll open up in the glass, and we'll get back to the cigar review. Here we are about 20 minutes in. The draw is still a little bit snug, but not unbearable. I'll give it a little while yet, and I'm not sure if I want to put a V-cut to it or not yet. It did go out on me once, just out of the blue. Just like my fire, just went out on me out of the blue. And out of the blue, there it goes, relit. Look at that sucker. Alright. I was about ready to give up on that fire, too. That glue note that I initially picked up on the initial lighting has pretty much completely disappeared. So has that jalapeno note. Ever so slight hint of maybe some white pepper on the retrohale. Subtle leather, meatiness, almost like a grilled meat. And some damp, something damp. Almost a mustiness. That glue is trying to creep back in, but it's not completely gone, but it's very, very subtle. Hopefully it'll go away altogether. Not a big fan of the glue note. Maybe a little bit of nuttiness in there. Very subtle flavors. This is a low end, very low end of medium, really pushing towards the mild on the body. Mild to medium strength. And same thing with the flavors. As I mentioned, they're very subtle. I have a little over an inch worth of ash. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little flip. Yep, good timing. Burn is pretty darn even, as you can see here. So I'll get somewhere in the second, third, and I'll be back, and hopefully the fire will stay roaring like it is. Here we are, about 40 minutes in. Burn's a little bit wavy, but not too bad. It's self-correcting. Doesn't seem to be an issue. I haven't had to relight it again. It just went out the one time. I did go ahead and make a V-cut in an attempt to open up the draw a little bit, but it doesn't seem to have helped any. Still a mild medium maybe at best on the strength, body, and flavor. Subtle hints of leather. Maybe a little bit of meatiness in there. Some damp grasses, some damp dried grasses. And just when I think that glue note is gone completely, the very next draw I get a slight hint of it. But, as I mentioned, I don't really like the glue note, but it's very subtle, and I can deal with it. Doesn't seem to be a big issue for me. All in all, a pleasant cigar to this point. So I'll smoke it through the second third, get into the final third, and when I come back, I'll probably be removing the band. And it's starting to soften up, particularly right where the burn starts coming towards the bottom of the band. So we'll see what happens there. I'll be back in the final third. Well, it's getting quite dark. Here we are in the final third, about an hour in. The burn became pretty uneven. About half the cigar wasn't burning. And I noticed a couple small tunnels. Touched it up, and lighter number 3 failed. So I pulled out lighter number 4 to touch it up. Draw is still a little bit snug, not too terribly bad though. The ash a little bit flaky after I touched it up. Picked up some mild white pepper. Subtle hints of some leather. Maybe a slight touch of meatiness in there. So I'll turn on some lights and I'll be back in the nub. Just a little over an hour in. I've lost almost all of my light. I turn on some lights on the deck here, and helps a little bit, but got a roaring fire going. Here we are in the nub. Picking up a little bit of nuttiness maybe. Slight hint of that white pepper on the retrohale still. Pleasant cigar. Now, as far as the Inver House blended Scotch whiskey, as I mentioned, it is quite watered down. I did not add any water to it. Starting to pick up a little bit of sweetness. The alcohol starting to come forward a little bit. That malt note has almost disappeared. Could be that it's cooled down too much. It's quite cool out, so the colder it is, the more it locks in the flavors. And this was a weak whiskey to begin with. So who would I recommend the Inver House to? maybe someone that's new to Scotch whiskeys, so it doesn't have that real bold Scotch character to it. But on the other hand, you don't get a true feeling for what Scotch whiskey has to offer. So, you know, it is what it is. I'll end this review here. Boy, that is a roaring fire. Now I'm getting hot. Saying, on the review here, saying that the aging room small batch M356 in Robusto size. All in all, a pleasant cigar. Strength, body, and flavors have all been mild to maybe mild to medium at the most. Subtle hints of leather, wet, dry grasses. Boy, there's a contradiction in terms. But that's what it is. If you had some dried grasses and they got wet, that's what I'm getting from it. A little bit of meatiness in there, some nuttiness. There's a hint of a glue note in there. Wasn't you know, overbearing or anything, so it didn't put me off. My goodness, this fire is burning my butt. So, there you have it. I thank you for once again watching Scorpion Cigar Reviews. I'll catch you next time.